Hi, welcome to Conquering the Battle Within. I'm Shannon VanderZwaag. So why did I choose to do this summit at this time? And why did I choose this topic? I chose this topic because I am a 27-year military veteran that has complex PTSD that I've developed as a child and that has progressed over time. And this is very near and dear to my heart. So we're going to get right into the questions with Dr. Sandy because this is why you're here. All right, Sandy. So would you prefer Sandy or Dr. Gluckman?
You know what, Shannon? Everybody calls me Dr. Sandy.
I love Dr. Sandy. That is so casual. I should have asked you that in the beginning.
That's okay.
All right. Some people are exposed to terrible experiences and they develop the symptoms of trauma and or PTSD. And some of us are exposed to those same very experiences. For example, I was deployed, and some of the people I deployed with, they do not have PTSD. Do you think that you could tell us why that is, why I acted differently than maybe some others?
Sure. So this is such an important question. But I think we need to start with talking about the word trauma.
Yes.
It has developed into having a much broader kind of interpretation and definition. It's not all about war. It's not all about sexual abuse or about physical violence. Right. Of course, it is about that. But trauma, equally as bad as what I just mentioned, those awful experiences, is the experience of not having your early childhood developmental needs met. That is just hugely traumatic. Okay. And I don't think that it's been thought of in that way before. So we really want to ask ourselves, well, what are these primal needs that we come into the world with and the early developmental needs? First of all, that we need to be seen.
Yes.
Seen for who it is that we are. Just kind of truly seen into the core of our being.
Yes.
The second primal need is that we need to feel that we are worthy, that we are valued, that we bring something important and valuable to the world, to our mom, to our dad, to the family. Yes. And thirdly, we need to feel spiritual and emotional connection. Yes. To our parents. In fact, we are wired for connection. So those are the real primal needs we enter the world with. And so for me, apart from the actual experiences of trauma that we spoke about, there is the trauma of not being seen.
Yeah.
Especially not being seen, especially as the child gets a little older, just not tiny baby, but starts to be a toddler, not being seen for who it is that I am, where parents really want to see us the way they want us to be.
Yes.
And the way they want us to be is not always who I truly am. So the trauma is not being seen for me. Mm. And the second kind of trauma is the trauma of not feeling worthy. Mm. Not feeling like we are important and special and bring something very unique to our world and our environment. And the third trauma is that trauma of feeling disconnected, spiritually and emotionally disconnected from mom, and then perhaps a little later from dad, but it starts right in the beginning with being disconnected from mom.
Okay.
So, Shannon, the question then becomes, why? Why would a parent not be able to meet these needs, these early childhood developmental needs? Why would a parent be disconnected from the child to the point where they're not seeing the magical wonder of this child in the way that it is, and not making the child feel worthy? Why would that happen? And the answer is that these parents, the moms, dads, have actually become disconnected from themselves. And the reason they were disconnected from themselves is that they were not seen. Did not feel worthy. They did not feel connected. And so they became parents in a way where there was unhealed trauma. What happens when the moms and dads are carrying a lot of inner pain and unhealed trauma because their own childhood developmental needs were not met is that there is chronic stress. There is ongoing stress. And so in the long term, what happens with these parents is that the stress regulation apparatus becomes malfunctioning. It is just switched on all the time.
Okay.
So what does that mean then? Like, what does a mom or dad in that situation look like? Well, they're in fight, flight, or freeze a lot of the time. They are easily triggered. They're easily frustrated and irritated and annoyed. They worry and are anxious a lot. So they are displaying fight behaviors or flight behaviors or freeze behaviors. And the way it shows up in the role as parent is extremely stressful for the child. And so, we hear it in the parent's body language. We see it in the parent's body language. We hear it in their tone of voice. We see it on their face, the look in the eyes, the tension around the eyes, around the jaw. The children are picking all of that stress up. And stress anyway has its own energetic vibration, which children are picking up. That comes off mom or comes off dad or both. And children they just absorb mommy's stress. They are like stress magnets. And so they become stressed. And their stress regulation apparatus is also thrown out of whack.
That is very interesting. And I think I can honestly say I saw that with my own kids. And I can say when they misbehaved the most is when I seem to be stressed the most, or even possibly even disconnected the most. So it's interesting that you say that.
Yes, and that's very insightful that you say that that's when the very behaviors that you don't want from them, you're actually triggering in them, but we often don't see that connection.
I didn't as a young mother. I was very young when I had children, and now I'm learning all this.
I get excited when I work with my clients because these are the parents who are saying, enough. This is where we stop the trauma.